Force Major George Filer says a live alien was shot and killed at Fort Dix in 1978. Well, let's talk about this. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, please share on social media, and let me know what you think about this story in the comments below. This is from an interview that a viewer shared with me, and thank you very much for doing that. I found it a fascinating interview, and I found the Major to be very credible, and the story that he tells is very alarming and worrying. It also raises more questions than it does answers, but it is yet one more piece of evidence of the ongoing violence between humans and non-humans. And, you know, we'll get into that in a little bit, but first I want you to hear what the Major has to say. Here goes.
And this particular morning when I went into the command post, I was met by the head of the command post, and he said that it's been a very exciting evening, that we've had UFOs in the, over the McGuire all night, and that one had apparently landed or possibly crashed at Fort Dix, and that when a military policeman came upon the alien, that he had pulled out a gun and shot them. And I said, a foreigner, an alien? I was a little bit confused by him saying alien. He says, no, an alien from outer space. He was very specific about the fact that an alien from outer space had been shot at Fort Dix, and that it had run away after being wounded and headed for McGuire. Now, McGuire and Fort Dix just have a fence between them, and this alien supposedly climbed the fence or went under it or whatever and got to McGuire and died out on the end of the runway. And the security police were out there and had captured the body, so to speak, and were guarding it. And he said that a C-141 from Wright-Patterson was coming in to pick up the plane. Now that made me stand up because I didn't realize that Wright-Patterson had C-141s. I thought Military Airlift Command was the only one who owned C-141 aircraft. So I was like, my gosh, what's going on here? And he says, we want you to brief this at the, stand-up general briefing this morning. And
he goes on to say that he was supposed to brief the general about this, but at the last moment that was called off. And George Filer, was brought in to see some photos, presumably of the being that was shot. But then somebody stepped in and said, no, you can't see those. And this was very unusual because as the official briefer, he would have access to almost everything, but he was not allowed to see these photos of the being. However, he got really curious and he started asking around. And he did talk to someone who had seen the being. And here is what he has to say about that.
I talked to one of the security policemen who claims to have been out there. And he indicated that he essentially saw a small body that, could have been like a child, but it seemed to have a larger than normal head. Now, one interesting thing is many of the key personnel on the base at that time who had a connection to this were quickly transferred from the wing commander on down, indicating that if you knew something, they tended to split you up, so to speak, so you couldn't talk about it. Within a matter of weeks or whatever. Now, the security policeman told me that he was transferred within a few days.
So yeah, there was a UFO that landed or crashed. A being got out of it, apparently a small being, possibly a gray or a gray type being. That's what it sounds like. And it was shot by the military police, not killed. It fled and then died in an adjoining facility. The body was guarded by 6 soldiers, and then it appears that a transport from Wright-Patterson came in and took the body and flew away. And Wright-Patterson comes into these stories a lot. There seems to be a central hub for all things UFO related. It's where a lot of crashes go, and it's apparently where bodies are also taken. Are there live beings there? Is there reverse engineering efforts done there? Who knows, but it is definitely a hotspot for this sort of activity. But why in the world was their default method of dealing with this situation to shoot the alien, the non-human? Call it what you like. And it's very perplexing because there are so many stories of the control group, military and government officials working alongside these beings, particularly the Greys. So why are they shooting at them? I have reported on kind of a division between the Greys as an idea advanced by various experiencers and others. The most detailed explanation that I've gotten comes from the book The Voyagers by Ashiana Dean. How reliable is that information? I don't know. She's a high-level experiencer, and this is information that she has gleaned through her many experiences. And, is that reliable information? I don't know. But it is highly detailed, which is interesting. And she does talk about how the Greys came here from a future parallel reality, and they are distantly related to us. But they are not us from the future, but they are very distantly related to us. Just close enough to where they could engage in the hybridization project. And they came here for very selfish motives, and they are very, service to self, oriented species. But once they got here, they encountered beings of a different nature who were more enlightened and who followed the law of one. They, if you're familiar with that, the raw material, we are all one, etc. And those people, the beings that believe in that philosophy and that way of life are more selfless, and they believe in service to others. And they actually co-opted many of the Greys into this philosophy. So, according to that book, and according to many others, there are the rogue Greys and the good Greys. According to the book by Ashiana Dean, the good Greys are the ones that followed the law of one. The bad Greys are the ones that continued to be service to self oriented. And they continue their projects here in that mindset. Now, the good Greys also carry out abductions, as do other races. But they do it for goodly or benevolent reasons, or at least benign reasons. And we have supposedly agreed to these abductions before we were born. That is a narrative advanced by Ashiana Dean and also many experiencers, including near-death experiencers. Is that real, or is that an elaborate deception carried out by some higher order? I don't know. In any case, that might be a reason why we could be, we, the control group, could be working alongside certain Greys in shooting at others. I firmly believe the control group is working with the beings. I think the evidence, strongly supports that. However, the evidence also strongly supports us shooting down UFOs and executing live beings. And I just did a report a week or two ago about the battle over Brazil, where 2 UFOs were shot down and multiple, all of the occupants of the UFOs were assassinated. And those that didn't die in the crash were either executed on the spot or hunted through the jungle and assassinated by, heavily armed guys in high-tech gear. The men in black, super soldiers. Yeah, there's multiple witnesses to that. There's a bunch of videos of the battle itself and the aftermath. It happened. It's a credible case, and what makes it even more credible is that right after those videos were originally posted a couple of years ago, they were scrubbed from the internet. I remember that happening in real time, and it was a big thing at the time. Everybody was wondering what happened to this story. It just vanished. And then all of a sudden, people just kind of lost interest because the videos weren't up anymore. Nobody was talking about it. And that's what they do, right? They erase this information. But some Redditors were able to find this archive footage and have re-released it, and another video channel did a really wonderful breakdown of it that I covered. And that's just one example of many examples of us shooting at UFOs. However, it's only one of a handful of examples that I can think of where we actually executed live beings. And in that case, they were human-looking beings. They were very tall. They were described as being basketball player in size. So that was all the information that came out about that. And so, how does all of this make sense? Well, I mean, it appears, like I said, the control group seems to be working with some beings against other beings that may be enemies of the ones that we are working with. Did we choose the good guys to work with? Or are we shooting and executing the good guys? Looking at the behavior from what we can see of it, of the control group, they do not appear to be guided by any particular moral sense. Now, maybe they do shady things and they do have some higher goal they are working toward. My mind is open on that, but at this point, I am not persuaded that they are, particularly good, or that they have allied themselves with enlightened beings. I think it's all too likely the control group is working with shady characters in shooting at the good guys, or as good as there are. But, again, we don't have much solid information on that. I would love for some experiencers to come forward talking about this. People who, have recovered memories of their experiences, and maybe they can tell us more specifically what is going on with some of these current incidences, or, heck, this incident happened in 1978. So I would love more reliable information about that. So if any of you guys come across that or are aware of that, some experiencers talking about the galactic politics of what is going on, please let me know. And next time I come across one of those experiencers myself, I will definitely bring it to your attention. But yeah, this seems like a really credible case. Executing live beings in Fort Dix in 1978. Let me know what you guys think about this story, and please give this video a big thumbs up. And, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. And there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel. And I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.